Okay, let's try this again. Hopefully we've got our audio issues worked out. Looks to me like I'm live. We're gonna try and get this randomizer done. Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest. I think you could make an argument it's the first Metroidvania. It's got a lot of backtracking, you've got exploration, you've got picking up items that allow you to do progression later. It's a Metroidvania. So Randomizer actually works pretty well with it. We need to pick up 5 Dracula body parts, 1 cross, 3 crystals, and then we need to kill the old Count himself. So let's go ahead, let's get started, let's see how we do. So the first thing that we do, we start off in the town of Jova. This is a casual standard settings, so the map's going to be the same, but all the items across the maps are going to be shuffled. So here we got white crystal. The cost to shuffle, it normally costs 50. It's going to cost us 76 hearts today. We've got 3 checks we can do here in Jova. That's 1, this merchant is another. He's offering laurels for 40 hearts. Laurels allow you to become temporarily invincible, can be very useful. This man is offering us the nail, which is a block breaker item, which we will need to be grabbing at least the nail, but possibly also the holy water, another block breaker. Sometimes you don't need to grab both. We'll see. What we're going to do now is we're going to try and farm up some hearts so we can buy those items. It's going to cost us about 210 hearts total for those 3. The enemies are randomized, their HP values are randomized. Where they're placed on the map is the same default locations, but what they are and how much HP they take is going to be randomized. So we're going to try and find a spot where we can get a decent amount of hearts in a decent amount of time. This looks like it might be a decent spot. This Steve here throwing bones is not ideal, but the demon drops a half big heart, and the spear guy also drops a half big heart. So those, when you see a small little normal Castlevania heart, those are worth 2, and those bigger ones are worth 4, if my memory serves me correctly. Let's find out. Let's see, I got 1 of 6. Yeah, 110. So those are worth 4, twice as much. And then there's another even larger full big heart, and those are worth 6. So a couple of things just happened there. If you're familiar with Castlevania 2, we did a day to night transition. It has a day-night cycle where the enemies get twice as powerful, and enemies will show up in the towns at night because Dracula's curse has covered the land and things are bad. Normally there's an extremely slow text box and a very slow transition from day to night in the vanilla game. The randomizer removes the text box and instantaneously changes it from day to night, from night to day. Very nice quality of life. And then I warped back to the town of Jova, so you can press select up A and B during the pause that select gives you, and that will warp you back to town. Kind of like an up A in The Legend of Zelda. Very useful for, it was originally added to the game to stop soft locks, because you could definitely get yourself into some out of logic places and lock yourself. It became a staple of it because it's just such a useful quality of life feature. So I leveled up there. I got enough experience to go up to level 1 from level 0, which I no longer gain experience in this town because the way experience works in this game is gated by what zone you're in rather than the monsters you're fighting, and the town of Jova is a level 0 item. But we have enough hearts, we're going to be able to grab our items that we get from here. So that includes a nail, so we have a block breaker, some laurels, we get a little bit of protection, and then we're also going to grab the white crystal. So like I said, we need to get 5 body parts. Body parts being used here kind of loosely. One of them is a ring. That's not exactly a body part, but we got the first one in the nail. We need to get 3 crystals, a white, a blue, and a red. So we've grabbed our white. And then we need to make our way to Castlevania and defeat Dracula. So with everything randomized, we need to hunt down the relics without knowing where they're going to be. It's pretty nice that we got a block breaker so early in Jova. So what we're going to do is head to the right side of the map, because this is a standard logic. We don't have the towns randomized, so we're going to make our way into the first of the 5 mansions, Berkeley. And that one is nice to go when you have a block breaker, because there are 4 clues that will give us hints as to what items are where, so we can get a little bit more knowledge. When it comes to the randomizer, knowledge is power. Knowing where we need to go and potentially where we don't need to go can significantly speed up our progress towards our goal. So try and make our way through this bridge. It's not the worst enemy set I've ever seen, but it is also a little bit unfriendly. These Steves that jump and throw bones can be a real pain in the neck. Steves. Richards. We call them Richards because there's another name that Richard goes by short. Steves are the skulls, which we might yet see. We're trying to pick up a little bit of hearts on the way. We are headed to Berkeley Mansion while I get completely bodied by some slimes. Back to daytime. Oh, this is the town of Veros. Right, yep, nope. Berkeley's on top. Veros has a check I can do with the nail, actually. I will go grab that really quick. The audio is out of sync with the game. I don't know what I can do about that. I know that can be extremely annoying as a viewer, so I hope that it is not so bad as to be unwatchable. Garlic. Okay, we will definitely take garlic. There are 2 checks in this game that require you to have garlic. One is in the graveyard on the far right of the world, the Carmilla graveyard, and the other is a graveyard on the far left of the world. And there's an infamous bad translation clue from the North American localization of this game that there are NPCs and hidden books throughout the game that you can find that are supposed to help you on your quest, and it's, you know, an adventure game and you're trying to figure out stuff, but those clues were notoriously badly translated, and even some of them are just outright lies, which that part is part of the original meaning, because some of the people have been cursed by Dracula and aren't trying to help you. One of those clues just said graveyard duck, which doesn't mean a lot, even if you know what it's trying to say. But that got turned into an inside joke, and now the NPC in the left side graveyard is literally a duck when you drop down garlic, and then he'll give you a check. Now, I believe what it's trying to say is that there's a couple of points in the game where you have to have the crystals equipped and then hold the duck button until a certain thing will happen in order to drain water out of the lakes, in order to do the fun travel across the world on a tornado. In all of those situations, you need to have a crystal equipped, and you need to be holding the duck button for a certain amount of time and for them to activate, which is not explained very well in the game in the North American localization. So all of these problems lead this game to have a bad reputation, but it is not a bad game. People who say it's a bad game, I don't think have given it a fair shot. The rib is for sale in Berkeley. That is a good clue to find, since we are here in Berkeley and we're going to need the rib. It is a well-known trope within the Castlevania 2 randomizer community that clues are almost never actually helpful. They can completely change the tone of a race if you get something that's like, the silver knife is in the orb of Berkeley, or the orb of Rover, or whatever. The silver knife is completely useless. So you know that, you go, oh, well, I don't need to go there. I don't need to find that. And that can save you considerable time if somebody who's you're racing against doesn't get that clue and spends the time going to grab what is essentially a useless item. So while the clues are often stupid, very funny to get a item and then the next clue you get right afterwards tells you where the item you just picked up is. Happens so often, I'm not entirely sure that it isn't programmed to do that. But yeah, it's still good practice to pick up the clues. There's going to be another one next to that merchant that's below us. We're going to grab that. And there's a third one right under here that we're going to grab as well. Now, if you're familiar with this game at all, there is we're in the first of 5 mansions or dungeons. They're called mansions in the instruction manual. At the end of each mansion is an orb that you need to use an oak stake to break the orb and get the item inside. In the vanilla game, those orbs contain the body parts that we're trying to pick up. Graveyard Duck has a whip. That is good to know. We do want to get whip upgrades. So we didn't have enough hearts to buy that rib right away, so we're going to have to farm a little. We only need that one. So now we can grab the rib. But all that to say about the orbs and the stake, I don't have a stake at the moment, and so we'll not be able to grab the orb item from this mansion, but there's still one more clue that I can grab. What I just did there is called a floor drop. If your sub-pixel is such that it is a number divisible by 8, Sacred Flame is sealed in Rover's Orb. That's what I was saying. So this is actually a useful clue. I know I don't need to go to Rover's Orb because that is, again, a useless item. The floor dropping. So if you have a correct sub-pixel, 0, 8, 16. I don't think all of the ones are divisible by 8, but most of them are. I know for sure 64, 0, 8. Obviously 0 is not divisible by 8. Anyway, if you move off of a ledge of a certain height and whip exactly 1 frame after Simon goes into the air and would start falling, he will fall through the floor below him, allowing you to save a lot of time in a lot of places, including at the very end. In Castlevania, there's a potential to do 4 floor drops in a row and skip the entire maze section of the Castlevania area, and that saves a lot of time. So we do try to take advantage. There's a lot of setups you can do. Simon's subpixel will reset to 0 if he touches stairs, which is why you saw me grabbing those stairs and then going back and trying again. And 0, again, is one of those numbers that does work. And the amount that Simon's subpixel changes when you jump is consistent, I think is the word I'm looking for, unless you do... it's consistent based on how far he falls when he jumps. And another glitch that we take advantage of pretty often in this game is whip jump. If you jump while Simon, if you whip while Simon is rising in his jump, he'll get an extra pixel of height on his jump, which allows him to reach certain places that the developers did not intend you to do, but also messes with his subpixel. And so you can, if you've screwed it up, you can kind of explore around and see if you can find a right subpixel to get a floor drop to activate. So we're making our way here through this mountain area. There's one more check that I can do right here below me with this block breaker. It won't cost us any hearts or anything. We just need to get to it. We just got the clue that the Sacred Flame is in Rover's Orb. This is the spot where in the vanilla game you get the Sacred Flame. I say it's useless. It's not truly useless because of its attack pattern. silk bag. It can be useful to stun lock enemies, to hit enemies below you, but it only does damage equal to half of your whip's damage value. And so, well, I've got a whip right now that is the leather whip. It only does 1 damage per hit. Half of 1 is 0.5, and the game rounds down. So currently, the Sacred Flame does no damage, and so while it can stun an enemy, doing no damage it's not very useful. That's the same with the Silver Knife. The Silver Knife does half the damage of your whip, and while it can pass through enemies, it's usually just not worth picking up. There is a patch, there's a version, I should say, like a flag that you can set up in the randomizer called Better Sub-Weapons, and that, instead of doing half of your whip's damage, those weapons deal double your whip's damage. We're not running with that flag set, so they're still not very useful. But it is a fun one to mess around with, makes the game quite a bit easier. So here's the town of Algiba, I believe. Maybe it's Alba. No, this is Algiba. Which means there are 2 checks at the bottom here that I can't do because I'll have a block breaker with the nail. The blocks that need to be broken in order to do those checks are underneath Simon, and the nail won't let you do that. You need to grab the Holy Water upgrade. Throughout most Castlevania games, the Holy Water is an extremely broken sub-weapon. That is still the case in this game. Alright, this guy gives us laurels. We already bought some laurels in Jova, so it's not like the worst pickup because we grabbed that silk bag in the mountains. The silk bag doubles the amount of laurels and garlic that Simon can carry from 4 to 8. And the free check there that gave me laurels refilled those all the way back up to 8. Just gonna do another floor drop here just to exit out of the town a little bit faster, hopefully. It is a 1-frame window, so it's not exactly free, but it's also pretty reliable once you figure it out. Now here, this is a staple of the Castlevania 2 randomizer. I use garlic to get garlic. What a trade. Absolutely fantastic value right there. So good. We love to see it. So we're gonna warp back to Jova. Because while I could technically do a glitch and get out of logic and continue to the right side there, I'm going to try and do everything in logic because I don't want to get myself lost in a quagmire of trying to figure out what I need to backtrack for. We're just going to move on to the left side of the map. We've got laurels, so we're going to use them to get through this swamp here without taking any damage. Just skip all these NPCs. No, thank you! Move on to the Ferryman, a staple of Castlevania. It's going to take us to a very nice place. In this game, one of the body parts, I apparently did not set the lazy river as I check. There's this flag, that's nice, good to know. One of the body parts is the heart of Dracula, and if you have that heart equipped, then the Ferryman will take you to a different location. As far as I'm aware, this is not explained anywhere in the game, and so you just kind of have to figure that out, or I guess call the 1-900 Nintendo Power number and have them explain it to you. I'm not entirely unconvinced that that was part of why this game was so cryptic, and they wanted that sweet, sweet 900 number money. Alright, so in the town of Alba, we got a free crystal, and then we got to buy the 3rd red crystal for a pretty cheap price of 44. That means that we now have full access to the entire map, thanks to the red crystal giving us access to that tornado warp I talked about earlier. And so we can go basically everything, like I was saying, I could go out of logic. We're now, everything is in logic, except for the check behind the heart, because we don't have the heart yet. The game was not as cryptic in the original Japanese. the localization was pretty bad. I wouldn't say that it's like the main or the only cause of the game being cryptic, but the localization did not do the game any favors. I'll say that. So, oh man, these plants really hurt. When you die in this game, you have 3 lives, and then once you run out of those 3 lives, you get a game over. That is typically how that works. We're gonna have to use the Laurel to get past this. In the vanilla game, if you take a game over, you lose all of your hearts, and you lose all of your experience towards your next level. The randomizer is a little bit nicer. You only will lose half of your hearts and half of your experience. And one of the inside jokes about the randomizer is that until you get the chain whip, which is the 3rd level of whip, and level 2, you really can't play the game yet. You're only allowed to play the game once you have those 2 things, and we have neither at the moment. So we just got we knew from a clue that Graveyard Duck was going to give us a whip. That gives us the Thorn Whip. So now we're doing 2 damage per hit. We've doubled our offense. That is nice. Double the number, double the fun. And yes, I don't know, I mentioned it earlier, the NPC that gave us that whip is literally a duck. He's a duck now. One of my favorite parts from the randomizer. These blobs are mean. This is a kind of a mean enemy roll for the graveyard. So that jump I just did there, that was only possible thanks to the whip jump I talked about. The developers did not want you to be able to jump that high, but you get that 1 extra pixel of height on your jump, and it does let you make those sorts of jumps and save a little bit of time. We're going to be making our way to the city of Ondol, if my memory of the vanilla map serves. To be honest, I haven't played a vanilla map seed of this in years? Question mark? And I've played a lot of the randomizer. Yes, it is Ondol, okay. There's actually a fairly active racing community for this game. We're currently running a league that's going to be multi-month and a new seed every week that everybody plays asynchronously, and you gain points based on who's playing and how you place. It's a lot of fun. I encourage anybody who thinks this game looks better than the vanilla game, give it a peep. It's a lot of fun to do in the randomizer. And the standard tournament flags, which is what is used for most races that we do, is what we call town rando. And so all of the locations of the various towns and mansions throughout the game are shuffled. And so the vanilla map stays the same outside of which town and which mansion are where. And so you have a little bit, it's an extra level of having to logic through the puzzle of the game. Okay, so that's the heart. That costs 95, which we do not have enough yet for, but we need to get that. So we're going to farm up some hearts. I would love this game to be an archipelago. The developer for this randomizer does not have any experience that I'm aware of with archipelago. I have asked him about it, and he said he might look into it. That wasn't a very firm answer, so unsure of whether that's going to be an avenue for it or not. So we picked up a stake, which means that we can now do one more check. We could do Berkeley's Orb. The first stake being so far away from Jova is a little bit unfortunate, because that is the only place we can warp to. But this is actually a pretty good spot for farming. We've got these little ghost guys that are dying in one hit to the Thorn Whip at night, which means that they're dropping big hearts. We should be able to farm up to level 2 here pretty quick and definitely get enough hearts to buy that heart. So many bodily organs in these games. Yeah, we're almost level 2. Could be this one. Yep. Go by that heart, and then I'm trying to logic through what we've got available and what we know. I think it makes sense to buy the heart, warp back to Jova, and then go through that swamp, use the heart on the ferryman, and see what's behind those checks. And then, yeah, we'll see what we get from there. So, making some progress. I think we're making a pretty good pace here. So as you can see, the estimate's an hour and a half. I had originally intended to run one of those standard tournament flags where the towns and mansions are shuffled, which makes it adds quite a bit of time. Getting a sub-hour on a town rando is not impossible, and it's certainly not like unheard of, but it does take luck and quite a bit of skill in both just the minute-to-minute gameplay and understanding the meta of the randomizer. We should be able to do quite a bit faster with the map not being shuffled, and I know which checks are going to be where, which ones are available, I should say. So now we're going to move on to, like I said, the ferryman. We're going to equip the heart, and then he'll take us to the location of the third in the Vanilla Order mansion, Brahms Mansion, where we fight our favorite staple boss of the series, my man Death, the Grim Reaper. There's also a couple of clues, and there's an NPC that sells a check, and then there's the orb at the end, and Death himself drops a check. So there's 3 checks. There's at least 1 clue. I'm not sure if there's 2. The one I'm thinking of I can't get right now because I don't have holy water, but that's okay. What I'm doing, I walked past the mansion, as you might have noticed, and we're continuing on into the Vrad Mountains. There's an NPC at the end of the Vrad Mountains who will give us a check for free. So I want to check that first. It's I'd say best practice would actually be at this point, because of my item situation. I do have an oak stake that can break the orb at the end. It might be smarter to go into the mansion, use the oak stake, and then there's a chance that this check is going to be an oak stake. And like I know what I'm talking about with this randomizer. He's going to give me an oak stake. So I should have gone in, I should have used the oak stake, and then checked this, and then I would have refilled it. I'm still going to come back here, and I'm going to go get the oak stake, assuming that the orb doesn't hold one. That is also a very regular occurrence, that you stake in, stake out from the orb. But assuming we don't get a second stake in the mansion, we'll be wasting a bit of time to come back this way through Vrad Mountains and refill the stake. And if you play this game enough, and you start talking about your steaks and your garlic, it can make you hungry to play this game. Who doesn't love a good garlic steak? Alright, Brahms Mansion. Here we go. Oh, that bird went through the floor. Medusa heads on stairs. Another very fun, heavy air quotes, enemy combination. Medusa heads AI, their logic is move towards Simon, and they don't get stopped by walls, they don't get stopped by stairs. They'll just hit you, and if Simon takes any damage while he's on stairs, he falls off the stairs. Apologize again, I'm sick. I really wish I wasn't. Yeah, or he dies. Which, game over, so we lost half our hearts and half of our experience, but we have hit level 2. Level 3 is, so every time Simon levels up, he gains some defense. He starts to take less and less damage from enemies, which is very useful. Every second level up, he also gains more max HP. So level 3, while it does make you a little bit more tanky, just from the sheer damage number you take, you don't gain any extra HP, so it's not nearly as necessary for survival as that bump up in HP and defense that 2 gives you. With level 2 and my Thorn Whip, I'm almost allowed to play the video game. Almost. One more whip will do it. That floor drop is a pretty nice one to get. It saves some time. That's the silver knife we mentioned. I'm not spending 56 hearts on it. Oh, thank you. Climb up here. We're going to reset Simon's subpixel to 0. I'm going to kill this guy, hopefully before he hits us. Jump. Jump. Okay, there is another clue. Now that I'm thinking about it. I need to equip Neil. The diamond is free in Laruba. Not actually all that useful of a clue because we're going to... You're always going to check the free vendor in Laruba. The diamond, another one of those half of your whip damage sub-weapons. So not as useful to grab, but knowledge is power. Alright, so we're going to drop, we're going to jump, we're going to jump, we're going to try floor drop through here. And it's 1 frame, and then there's a 3-frame jump that I missed. There's a 3-frame window. As you hit the bottom of that drop, you jump to the right, you can skip this walk of shame, or some jokingly call it the stride of pride. You can just, if you make that jump, you don't have to walk left, you don't have to do any of that falling. You'll jump into this room with Death himself. Now we're going to move past him for a second. We're going to grab our oak stake. We're going to hit this orb. What have we got? The magic cross. That is one of the items we need in order to beat the game. So that was a very worthy use of our stake. Now we're going to try whip him down. It is a lot of hits with a Thorn Whip, only dealing 2 damage a hit. But we have a secret out here with our laurels. We're going to use a laurel, makes us invincible. We're going to get on the other side of him, and we're going to keep trying to stun lock him as best we can. There is an extremely easy way to beat Death if you have garlic, which we do, but it takes a very long time. He will walk into the garlic and then get stun locked, like perma stun locked, and not be able to move. But since he has like 128 HP and the garlic only does 1 damage a hit, it takes about 3 minutes. If you don't, sometimes the randomizer is mean, and you have to do this mansion as logic, and like that item you need for progression is in Death, and you haven't gotten a whip yet, but you do have garlic, and so sometimes it is the play, but it is slow. But we got the chain whip from Death. That means we are now doing 4 damage a hit, and we can officially play the video game. Now I'm going to try and do a fun little glitch to get out of this mansion using the way that the game scrolls vertically. So I'm going to come up here, I'm going to jump, I'm going to jump, I'm going to jump, I'm going to jump, and then I'm going to try and spam jump, and we're going to glitch our way into the ceiling. Because the game refuses to scroll vertically while Simon is in the air, and the block detection technology is, let's say, primitive. We can just jump into that 1 block gap that these ceilings have, and when it comes to collision, Simon doesn't actually have a torso or a head. He's just feet. You know, as you do. I'm gonna try and get another floor drop here to exit a little bit quicker. And then we'll do a little damage boosty. And we're gonna make our way, like I said, back through the Vrad Mountains. Get the free oak stake. And then I'm gonna try and logic my way into what my next move is while I'm making these jumps. I could check the Berkeley orb. It's not super likely that it actually has something required. It is very possible that it does. But there's a whole other side of the map that opened up when we got that red crystal that we haven't checked. And so I think and our check density values, it makes more sense for me to grab this stake and then I think warp back to Jova and use the crystal to check the rover location. I know for a fact that I don't need the rover orb because it has Sacred Flame. But there is an NPC in Rover Mansion that will sell something, and he might have something we need. We still need to get the eyeball, and we still need to get the ring. But those are the only two things that we're missing. No, we also need holy water. We definitely need the holy water. It's theoretically possible to beat the game without holy water. It is a glitch logic, and this is not a glitch logic seed, so we could do it, but that's not how the game wants us to do it. So we do need the eyeball, the ring, and the holy water. So we got 3 more items to find, which means, honestly, at 35 minutes, I think we're making pretty decent time. It's not the best that it could be, because I'm making stupid mistakes like that, just walking into the river. Guess Simon needed a bath. But honestly, I think we're doing pretty good. We're moving along. But as I'm talking myself through this, I do think I'm going to go into Berkeley and check what's in that orb. There's honestly, I think, a pretty good chance that it's going to be stake for stake. But that's just a loss of a minute or two from going through the mansion. And there's a chance that what we need is in there. And we need to check Rover's location for the NPC. And then we'll move on to the right side of the map. Hopefully everything just kind of falls into place as we're making our way to the end of the game with journeying into Castlevania and taking down Dracul. You get to hear the, I think, pretty awesome soundtrack. There's only a handful of songs in this game, but I think they're all quite good. It is the origination of Bloody Tears, which is perhaps the most famous song in all of Castlevania. Oh no! Oh, that is a badly placed spider. I have to make sure he dies. Okay, alrighty. I don't know. I'm trying to think through the check density, and since I'm so used to not knowing which towns and which mansions are going to be where, I might be making some suboptimal decisions here. Because there's this check here with this orb, and then the rover NPC is only 2 checks. I could probably, the odds say, I could get away without not checking them before I go check the right side of the map, but I don't know. I'm feeling lucky. I'm rolling those dice. Apparently not getting this floor drop. That's okay. A lot of times you'll see people wasting their time trying to get a floor drop that they failed like 3 or 4 times, and there certainly comes a point at which you are not actually saving time. Even if you do eventually get it, you would have been better served by just taking the stairs. So sometimes we'll just take the stairs. Alright. Orb, what do you have? Please be something I need. What did I say? I know this randomizer. I know how much it hates me. Stake in, stake out. Alright. I swear, I called that. I called that exactly as it was gonna happen, because the game likes to troll you. And that's just the long and the short of it. It's a trolly game. I don't hold that against it. I still love it. I think on my EverDrive right now I have over 150 different seeds of this game that I run. It is one of my favorites. I highly, highly encourage anybody who's into randomizers. If you've played Link to the Past Randomizer, or Super Metroid, or SMZ3, any of those games, and you enjoy the randomizer process, as long as you don't just hate side-scrollers, I think you'll have a really good time with this game. The randomizer is very well put together. There's a lot of cool flags you can do. And like I've said, there's actually a pretty active community of people who play together, you know, almost weekly. And we host a yearly tournament. We have 2 yearly tournaments now. We have Belmont's in training, so if you're brand new to the randomizer, you've only played a few seeds, that one's perfect. That's for beginners, players of I would say all skill levels, but if you've done too many, we don't let you play into that one, so just beginners. And then yearly around Christmas time, we do what we call the Simon Claus tournament, and everybody is welcome and allowed into the Simon Claus, and that one's a lot of fun. We often get the best vanilla CV2 players in the world playing for that one. Shout out to Castle Freeland. I would say, much like Dragon Blitz is the arguably objectively best Symphony of the Night player, Castle Freeland is the best Castlevania 2 randomizer player in the world. Taking maybe a little bit of a step back for now, but hopefully he'll be back one day. Alright, so making our way down here. This is going to be talked about the, you know, have a crystal equipped and duck in a certain spot for a number of seconds, and then a thing will happen that the game never explains to you. This is one of those spots. You need to have at least the blue crystal, and since we have the red crystal, this will also work. Come here, we duck while the crystal is equipped, and the screen scrolls down. No longer does the lake kill us, but instead we can move on to the second mansion in vanilla order, Rover. Rover, come on over. There's a number of fun glitches in this mansion. Walking through this wall here, not a glitch, that's actually how you're supposed to do it. The whole top area of that first screen, that's a trap. There's nothing there. That's just a waste of your time. But there's this fun moving block here, this purple block. You can do quite a bit of glitching of the game with it. If I had holy water and didn't know that the orb is completely useless, I would show you can use it to push yourself into a version of the fifth mansion, but with the second mansion's tile set and no monsters in it, in order to get to the orb very fast and without having to deal with most of the mansion. It can also be done, or be used to do what will hopefully work out here. Okay, scroll a little bit further. I'm gonna take a death here, I think. Yeah. It's okay. That was a semi-intentional death, because that lets us scroll the screen just a little bit more. And hey, look, we're back at the beginning of the mansion. The programming for when room transitions happen in this game can be taken advantage of to do a lot of things that developers really didn't intend for the game to do. But yeah, let's just get out of that mansion a little bit faster, and now we're going to do another fun little glitch. That's a 1-frame window on that jump. I don't know if probably pretty quick, but Simon jumped much further and much faster than he normally does. When you're on those horizontal moving platforms, if you tap the direction they're moving for 1 frame and then jump the next frame, he will maintain the momentum that the moving platform gets him during his jump. A very tight window, but you get a feel for it, and it's not impossible to pull off. And it makes you go faster, and it looks cool. So we're gonna head here back to the town of Algiba. There's a joke our community often makes with Algiba. I was told there would be no math involved. Why am I in the town of Algebra? Q groans again. Look, I'm a dad. I like dad jokes. I won't apologize. Here's the Carmilla graveyard. This is a jump. You are not supposed to be able to jump like this. That's what is supposed to happen. Simon dies. But if you do the jump whip correctly, you get that 1 extra pixel of height and you can just jump up there. And so here we are. We are now at the left side of the right side of the map. And I'm going to be using some laurels, and we're going to get through this swamp and into the 5th mansion of the game, La Ruba, which, as we all know, is Spanish for the Ruba. Again, I apologize for my dad jokes, but then not really, because I think they're funny. This is the 5th mansion, Lag Ruba. There's so many monsters, and as we all know, the NES does not like running a whole lot of sprites at once, and so we'll start to lag pretty hard. We got a little bit lucky, and we now have the Morning Star Whip, so we're doing 8 damage per hit, a big step up from the 1 that we started with, and is certainly good enough to get us through the Ruba if we can kill this spider here, who's hell-bent on stopping us from climbing these stairs. Oh, come on, you know you want to die, spider. Sometimes the randomizer is just like, this set of stairs? No, you're not going up this set of stairs without some serious effort. You guys mentioned earlier, Medusa heads, one of the worst to be on the stair. Spiders are probably the worst because they can also spit webs at you. And so even if they're not in a position where their body's going to hit you, they can still knock you off the stairs. And then the floating skulls, what we refer to as Steves, also very bad. They're basically just Medusa heads with no skin. Got this Richard here. So we know from one of our clues that the free item in Laruba is going to be the Sacred Flame. So we don't need to grab it, but I might just because. Sometimes being able to hit vertically below you, which the Sacred Flame allows you to do, can actually be pretty useful. Everybody knows, if you play NES games, the birds are jerks. Game, not an exception. Birds are jerks. What do you have for us? You have an oak steak? Yes, it's good. I didn't have one. We're probably going to come back up here and grab it just in case. One of the items that we need is in the Orb of the 4th mansion, which is the only one we have not yet seen. That one is Bodley Mansion. Bodley? I don't know how it's actually pronounced. No, it was Diamond, not Sacred Flame. Diamond. Sacred Flame is a Rover Orb. Right. I get the useless sub-weapons confused in my mind because I never ever picked them up. Here is Carmilla. In this game, she's just a face. In one of my favorite Castlevanias, which literally every Castlevania is one of my favorite Castlevanias. It's probably my favorite game series is Circle of the Moon. She is a vampire mistress, not just a face. Carmilla's fun. She can't be hurt by any weapon in the game except for your whip and the golden knife, which we normally have gotten from death, but we don't yet have. So we have to try and get as many hits in as we can whenever she's not shooting out those tears of flame, or I think they're probably actually bloody tears. Get it? Okay. But yeah, if we jump into her like that, she does a ton of damage, so we really want to avoid that. Okay, so here's... She drops the holy water. And the holy water has opened up 1, 2, 3, 4 checks on the beginning side of the game that we could not do before. And so we may have to work back to the beginning of the game now that we have holy water without having yet found the eyeball or the ring. Now, that's not necessarily going to be the case. Wow, that was really bad luck. But we'll see. It's definitely possible that the logic just opened up a big old can of worms. I'm not going to just YOLO hope for that to be the case and then warp back and potentially waste time. So we're going to do the rest of the checks on this part of the map. And depending on what we find in Doina and Bodley Mansion, or the... oh, and there's also the Flame Defender. So I still think the odds favor us going towards Castlevania and hoping we're going to get everything on the way. Let's hope the floor drop would work there. Make our way out of Lagruba. There's one more swamp to cross, so it was kind of not the worst pickup of laurels out of the orb, because we were running low on them, and there's another pretty big swamp to cross. Right. Let's go ahead and... oh, I didn't get laurels, did I? I thought I did. Oh, I did. It just only gave me 2 of them. So if you get from like a free NPC check giving you laurels, it will refill to your maximum. Since we have the silk bag, that is 8. Normally it would be 4. You only get 2 out of an orb. So we went from 1 back up to 3, which is enough to get us across the swamp, but I, for some reason, was expecting to have 8. It's fine, we only needed. Equip our holy water. There's a superior block breaker to the nail, as it will break blocks below us as well as next to us. Kill some of these fire dudes because they are not being very nice. So right here, there's an oak stake is sealed in Berkeley's orb. Thanks, game. I did not note that. But I knew that 30 minutes ago. That's typically what a clue looks like in this game, in my experience. Talk to this NPC here. The vanilla game, if you have the Morningstar, he will upgrade it to Flame Whip. Here, he gave us an oak stake, which is actually good because I screwed up leaving Laruba and didn't grab the other stake, so that's actually pretty serendipitous luck. Using that same sort of bad vertical collision there, we can hop up into that wall there and save a little bit of time. Do another whip jump here, so just save going up that ladder. Stairs, ladders, interchangeable. And then here's our 4th mansion, Bodley. So I don't have any information about what's in here. I don't have any clues, and so I'm going to assume that I'm going to need to check the merchant who sells in the vanilla game at Oak Stake, but I'm going to guess he probably has the ring or the eyeball, I think. We'll find out when we get there. It's a bit of a marathon. We have to climb through the whole mansion to get to him. Hidden blocks there that I fell through. Didn't I jump from? This is a fun section of the mansion up here. in the vanilla game, up on this landing that I'm about to get onto, instead of a whole bunch of enemies like you see here, there's falling boulders that are technically coded as enemies, but they only are coded as having 1 HP, and they maintain that 1 HP through the randomizer, and so you see all of these enemies are dying in one hit, the majority of them. And so this is a very good place to stock up on hearts and experience, because this is a level 4 zone. Sorry. And so I'm going to refill my hearts up here, because I was running a little bit low. Just kill a bunch of guys, get a bunch of currency, and then we're going to go on to the merchant. There's a very fun bit of advanced tech that one can do in this next room called the double floor drop wraparound, where you do 2 floor drops in a row to skip through 2 floors. And then as soon as you hit the bottom of the screen, you do a jump that lets you wrap from the bottom of the screen to the top of the screen, and that lets you get to the vendor much, much faster than the vanilla way, but it requires 3 frame-perfect inputs and having your subpixel correct. So it is not free by any means, and I am not going to be attempting it. We're just going to go the slow way. There's a clue up here. We're only 2 items away from victory, so I'm going to take the 10-ish seconds that it takes and see what it says in case it gives us a location that we need. Garlic needed to get some garlic. Yes, thank you, game. Thank you for continuously proving how useful the hints can be. Alright, let me do a whip jump here. Just get that 1 extra pixel and skip having to deal with that xenomorph, as they call him. His little fist punching out looks like the xenomorph tongue. Okay, laurels. No, I don't think I want... I have enough money. I will buy them. Well, I was wrong. My prediction... I've had quite a few correct predictions about what orbs or NPCs would have, and I was incorrect there. I did not need to go visit that guy. I could have skipped all of that upper mansion journey. That's, you know... That's how randomizers work. You kind of just have to make your educated guesses, and sometimes you're right. And more often than not, I'm wrong. This is the ring. Okay, so we're now missing 1 item, and that is the eyeball. The eyeball allows you to see clues without having to break the blocks that they're in, which I believe in the vanilla game is meant to be like, once you have the eyeball, you've got some more insight on how the world works, and so it helps you find the clues that tell you where to go better. But as we've discussed in the North American localization, was not all that helpful. Okay, please don't kill me. Oh, whew. 1 HP. This guy's probably... Ooh, I got lucked out on what NPC was there. So we'll make our way out of Bodley. And then I'm going to check town of Doina. And if the eyeball is not in Doina, we will have to warp back to the beginning of the game and check out those locations that the holy water opened up for us to do. So, fingers crossed that the eyeball is in Doina and we can just grab it and go on. If not, well, we'll see. Ironic. We'll see. And we're trying to get an eyeball. Pun retroactively intended. Nope. I don't have my holy water equipped. Okay, you have laurels. That is not what we wanted to see. Okay. So go back to Jova. I guess I'm gonna go left side first and check Alba, because if they are if the eyeball is in Alba, then we can continue on to the left side of the map and take the tornado warp, which is always fun to show off. Who doesn't love riding a tornado across the world? And if it's not, then I can still warp back to Jova and then take the right-hand side of the map. I think this is what makes sense, because we really don't know, and none of the clues have been helpful towards finding the eye, and we're just kind of going on vibes here. We were making pretty decent progress. I think that I talked myself out of warping once I got the holy water from Laruba, but clearly at this point warping back was the play, but we didn't know that at the time. That dog, he was aggressive. Not expecting him to knock me off the ferry like that. Alright, so here at the town of Alba, I did check that already. That one, you only need the nail, and I grabbed it. I'm so 95% certain. But just in case I'm just bad, as we've proven over the last, what, 2.5 hours, oh my gosh. Or you guys have had to suffer through that. With me, playing games, I have a bad memory. I'm gonna check it anyway, assuming this isn't the eyeball. What do you have? You have the eyeball! Hey, look at that. Alright, so we're warping. Although, that might have been a mistake. Yeah, no, that was a mistake. I shouldn't have warped out. See, that's the competitive racing muscle memory. Normally, Jova is not the vanilla location. It does happen occasionally, but it's usually on one or the other side of the world, and so warping would be the fastest way to get to either the tornado or the graveyard jump. In this case, I just wasted time. There was no need for that at all. You'll love to see it. Keep making the one frame jump, but then not doing it at the right pixel, so still needing to do a second jump anyway. That's fine. We're all fine here. What we're going to do is we're going to make our way to the far left side of the map. We're going to equip our crystal. We're going to kneel on the mountainside and let a tornado pick us up and carry us all the way to Bodley Mansion. There's also this graveyard down here where the duck lives. If you get an NPC to hit you while you are whip jumping, so you get that 1 extra pixel of height on your jump, and then you get knocked up and to the left by one of the enemies hitting you, you can get up onto a cliff that is too high even for the whip jump to get, and then wrong warp all the way towards the end of the game as well. That is technically faster than doing the tornado here if you get it pretty quickly. But because I do have the Morningstar whip, and the hitbox for the whip starts behind you, there's a very good chance that any of the enemies that I would be trying to get that boost off of, I would just kill in 1 or 2 hits, and then I'd be wasting a lot of time trying to get that warp. So once more, we're going to go with what should be a pretty consistent way rather than trying to go as fast as possible. Still gotta go fast. Put that crystal, and we duck. And here comes the tornado. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. That was actually a pretty decent location. Depending on where you're standing or kneeling on that cliff, where the tornado comes in from and exits and then does that second screen, that's all determined by where Simon is kneeling, and it can be up to like 3 or 4 seconds slower than optimal if you get too many whooshes and spins without actually hitting the screen transition. So that was pretty fast. I would have liked to get the final whip upgrade or the golden knife sub-weapon for Dracula. Morningstar is more than good enough to kill him, but it's going to be dangerous because my whip rhythm has not been the best today, and if you let him go, he really, really hurts if he hits you. But we also did get level 3, which means that we take 75% less damage from all sources. I think it's 75%. No. Yeah, I take 25% the damage I would normally take. That's a 75% damage reduction? If my math is mathing. Anyway. There shouldn't be a problem. All we're doing now, we're passing through the town of Yomi. There is nothing in this town. It doesn't even have color. It is so close to the source of the curse. The life, the color, the vivacity of the town has been completely drained. There's no NPCs that are helpful. They're all mad at you all the time. It's a bad place. We don't like Yomi. I'm going to do a quick intentional death here. By ducking and getting hit, you see a little water splash there. Fall off the screen. Just to refill my health. And that cliff that I just broke those couple of blocks on to get inside, if you do not have all of the body parts and the level 3 crystal, those blocks will not break. Even with the holy water. So now, here we are. We're in Castlevania. Unique music to this place. There is a bit of a maze to get through this place. Like I mentioned earlier on, you can theoretically do what's known as a quad drop. Skip through 4 of these floors. We're gonna try. We got 1. It's 1 out of 4. Not great. But if you hit through those 4 frame perfect whip inputs, you don't have to go through any of this mess I'm doing here, and you'll just drop straight into the foyer of Dracula's room. Right into here. Alright, here we go. Walk up to this altar. We're going to put our body parts in. They're going to be lit aflame, and we will bring Drac back. There we go. That's time. Awesome. I was a little bit worried about doing it with the Morningstar there, but we actually did have decent rhythm. It's a pretty tight, I think it's like a 2 or 3 frame window to whip while you're rising, and then be able to get a second whip while you're falling, and I still hit the bottom of Drac. We got it. We got it. We did it. We came in under estimate. I saved a little bit of time. Maybe amount of time I wasted on the previous game. I don't know. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, this is one of my favorite games. I've played a ton of the Randomizer. There is an active community. If you're interested at all, seek it out. Just look up Castlevania 2 Randomizer. You should find Kalari's site, which has got links to rolling the seeds. It's got information on what's been changed. There's trackers for the game, and we do have a Discord. There's a link there on that site. You can join. It's a welcoming community. And this game is great. If you like randomizers at all, I highly, highly recommend checking it out. And then I've got one more Castlevania game to run today. That's going to be Rondo of Blood. And that's going to be the Maria only category. So that's coming up in just a short bit of time.